Hello one and all, and welcome back to the F1 2015 Pro Season Series with BoxBoxBoxGaming. My name is Justin, and today we'll be taking part in the qualifying session for the third round of this 2014 season from Bahrain International Circuit. Last time out in Malaysia, we finished our first race after the DNF in Australia, but once again, we were plagued by a high downforce setup and poor strategy, which left us just outside the points-paying positions. Here we have the driver standings. You can see Nico Rosberg currently leading Lewis Hamilton 50-36. Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas currently tied on 27 points apiece. And there we are, way down in 12th position behind Sergio Perez and Jean-Eric Vergne, who each have a point, and we have yet to score so far. We are ahead of Daniil Kvyat and Kevin Magnussen and both of the Lotus drivers, but certainly here in Bahrain going to be looking to score some solid points.
The magnificent Bahrain International Circuit sits majestically in the desert, situated just 30 kilometers from the capital Manama. Welcome to the Bahrain Grand Prix, where practice is about to get underway. This weekend's night race will definitely be a challenge for some of the drivers, as not all of them have driven under lights before, so they'll need to quickly adapt to the conditions.
They will have already acclimatized and configured their normal race weekend routine to a night schedule, but I can't wait to see which driver gets up to speed the quickest in these conditions.
I was out to dinner with a couple of the drivers last night. Good friends, they'll remain nameless for the time being, and they mentioned their concerns about the run down to Turn 1, specifically just how difficult it is to stay out of trouble when you're in the mid-pack.
Turn 1's always a consideration for this race. It's certainly a difficult one to get right when surrounded by other cars, but the race isn't won or lost there. You've got to be smart, get through, and hope your rivals get into trouble and not you.
So here we are in free practice 1, and it's going to be a little bit shorter of a practice session as far as the video is concerned, and actually as far as my practice was concerned as well, because I did quite a bit of practice before this practice session, and then I just quit out rather than saving it. I did a number of high fuel laps, 22 laps in total. You can see here my setup, just doing some adjusting. I'm feeling much better about my setup for this race and for this weekend versus the past couple of weekends. My main focus was straight line speed. And here we see, well, this is still an FP1, obviously, and you can see we are 7th fastest on the prime tires, Kimi Räikkönen in 5th on the option tires. The Mercedes guys up in front, of course, and then Felipe Massa and Daniel Ricciardo both ahead of me on the prime tires. So we are in the top 10. Not sure how we're stacking up comparing to our teammate, but here, this was interesting. Look at the penalties there. Kamui Kobayashi with 2 grid penalties and a disqualification. Kevin Magnussen also with a grid penalty as well. And then another driver with a warning there too. So here we are at the end of free practice 1 now. You can see my time there in the 136s. I'm actually having a hard time reading that. 136.4, which was fast enough for 8th quickest, at least so far in the session. We're fast forwarding to the end right now. We've just gotten pushed down into 8th position now. And there we have the standings for FP1. So 8th fastest, behind our teammate actually by about 1/4 of a tenth of a second, 24 thousandths of a second behind Kimi Räikkönen. But all of the cars ahead of us actually on the option tires, including Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, Felipe Massa, and Bottas as well, both Williams cars. And actually, now that I think of it, the screen before where it was showing they were on prime tires, that meant at that moment, not that their fastest lap was on prime tires. So here we are in FP2, going to make some more setup changes. Thanks to Noble2909 for helping me with the setup. He didn't actually help me directly, but he made a setup video for Bahrain International Circuit.
Take it easy for a couple of laps.
And I used that to sort of help me. He recommended 1-1 wings. I am not going with 1-1 wings because I didn't feel comfortable doing that, and because it's a very long race and I would like to be as comfortable as I can. So that's an interesting little moment you just saw there with the Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso going very slowly there, and then here we have a Red Bull going very slowly, and you can see I'm slowing down to see what's going on with him. Also, I'm missing my entire front wing after that collision with the barrier, but I slowed down to see it. And then here we are coming down the back straight. There's a Caterham going very slowly. There's another car going very slowly, and here is yet another car going very slowly. So I was very confused at this point. That's a Force India going very slowly. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on here, and that's a McLaren. The McLaren's going very slow into the final corner. You can see I'm just kind of messing with him at this point. I just pulled alongside and just wanted to see sort of what he would do. The answer is not much, but it turns out all of these drivers have punctures. Every single one of them. So here's a replay of it. I think Button has a rear left puncture, if I'm not mistaken. Which you can see the front right lifting off the ground ever so slightly. And that was a Marussia, also with a puncture. You can actually hear it. It makes that popping sound every time I switch the camera, but everybody's just driving around with a popped tire. Every single one of these cars has a flat tire. And I later found out they are actually coming out of the pits like that. And I'm not sure what that was. I really don't know what that Sauber was doing. There he is again. Just jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. He's trying desperately to heat up those tires, man. He really wants to put some heat in those tires. But you can see the Sauber just came out of the pits. He's not even through turn 2 yet. And he's already got a front left puncture. So these cars are actually coming out of the pits. That was the Ferrari coming out of the pits with a flat tire. So there's some sort of spike strip in the pit lane or something that is just causing all of these drivers to have flat tires. And I wasn't really sure what to do. I tried restarting. Didn't help. They had the exact same problem, and it wasn't an issue in FP1. Only in FP2 did it actually become a problem. So here we are. I'm spectating now from inside the garage. And once again, just everyone's got a puncture. Daniel Ricciardo just came out of the pits, and he has a front left puncture. You can see his speed trap is 67 kilometers per hour. And that's not even the slowest one. He was only 20th. Second quickest is 204 kilometers per hour. Wow. Wow. That's not very fast. So I was very confused, which is why I wanted to leave this in the video. Clearly some sort of bug. I don't know if it's just with Pro Season. You can see Sergio Perez here, though. He's running perfectly fine at this point. So he managed to somehow avoid the spike strip that's in the pit lane, or whatever's causing this issue. And so we skip to the end of the session. And I didn't really put in very many laps. So I believe I'm actually in last. I don't think I actually set a time. I tried going around, and I tried to set a lap time with all of these extremely slow cars. Also interesting to note, it says Nico Rosberg did a 32.7 on a set of the prime tires. That's insane. I mean, that's actually insane. Even for a Mercedes, that is incredibly fast. So there is some sort of bug going on here. As we can see, more grid penalties. 2 grid penalties for Jenson Button in his McLaren Mercedes. You would think that this is the 2015 season with the amount of grid penalties that Jenson Button is getting, but no, this is still 2014. But Jenson Button looks like he's going to have some grid penalties to deal with for this race. So here we are in FP3, and once again, the cars are getting flat tires. We've got some more punctures. You can see this is a Toro Rosso. He's got a rear right puncture, which is causing that front left end to lift off the ground, which I really like, by the way. I like that Codemasters actually animated the puncture and the front left lifting off when you puncture the back right and vice versa. I think that was a nice touch from Codemasters, and I'm glad they included that. So I'm going to be retiring from FP3 here now. And once again, really didn't set too much of a time. Nico Rosberg with a 33.0 on a set of prime tires, which is, again, insane. I only did high fuel runs in FP3, which is why you see me down in the 138. Just did some high fuel runs, didn't even bother trying to set a really quick lap. Just wanted to get used to the car with high fuel once again. And here, once again, we see even more grid penalties for Bottas, Raikkonen, Perez, and Kvyat. And it says Daniel Ricciardo was disqualified. I don't know if that means from this session or from the race, but even more penalties being dished out at the end of FP3.
Welcome to the Bahrain International Circuit. It's 6 o'clock and qualifying's about to begin. Before the cars take to the track to start qualifying, who are you expecting to have a good session today?
Well, I certainly think Sebastian will be strong here. He really loves this circuit, and as long as he has the car performance, you can expect him to be right up there challenging for pole.
I don't know if Sebastian Vettel's going to be challenging for pole.
Get into the next qualifying session easily, so try to get a hot lap in early so we can save the tyres.
So as per usual, we are going to try and qualify in Q1 here using the prime tires. And once again, just flipping through my setup for you guys. Well, I wasn't doing it for you guys, but I left it in the video for you guys so you can see my updated setup as we're entering Q1. Obviously, Parc Fermé rules are in effect, so the setup cannot be changed after your first run in qualifying. So that was my last opportunity to make any sort of changes that I might need to make. And so here we are at the end of our outlap on the run down towards the final corner, or final two corners technically, turns 14 and 15, getting out of lean mix, putting it into rich mix. Into the final corner now, dodging the inside curb for the smoothest run and trying to get the power down. DRS line there, DRS wide open up into 8th gear. And a lot of people were topping out around 325, 330 kilometers per hour, but you could see right there I was topping out at 338 kilometers per hour at the end of the start-finish straight, which was much faster than most of the other cars. So I definitely got the straight line speed this weekend. Shouldn't be a problem compared as it was in Australia and Malaysia. I'm feeling pretty darn good about this. I really made sure to focus on my top speed. As you saw earlier in the video, when you're spectating the other drivers during a session, as I've locked up into that hairpin, and then lots of wheel spin, even more wheel spin, and that is not the way you want to do that. I've definitely lost several tenths, and I'm actually going to go ahead and drop it down into lean mix, and I'm going to try and set my lap after this one is over. So I do believe I'm going to let this car by, or am I? Nope, I don't think I am going to let this car by. I really did not want to give up my track position. Sorry, Williams, whoever is in that Williams, but no, I think I am going to try and stay in front of you. So I am pushing quite hard, but obviously I'm in lean mix right now, trying to cool down the engine for the next lap, where I'm going to try and go as quickly as I can. So back up into rich mix now, and we're going to try this one more time, hopefully without the issues at that hairpin that I had earlier. Coming now onto the start-finish straight, full throttle now, up through the gears, waiting for the DRS line, trying to open it as early as I can. It's a 37.6 obviously, but I was in lean for a lot of that. Here we are, braking right around where the curbing starts on the left-hand side before 100 meters, so it's a pretty early braking zone here in Bahrain. I tried setting the brake bias rearward and see if that would maybe help with the front tires locking, but then I just ended up locking the rear tires, so I've decided to just leave it on balanced for the entire lap. Going through turn 4 there, not too bad. Off camber corner, very difficult to get the power down there as you're coming out of it, but it's a short run down towards turn 5. 4th gear for the right-hander, 5th gear for the left-hander, up into 6th gear before braking for the hairpin, getting it down into 2nd gear for these prime tires, sometimes 3rd gear for the options, depending, just sort of depending on how I'm feeling. Accelerating now down, and then down towards turn 10, hitting the apex pretty nicely. Kimi's in P5. I could have carried a little bit more speed through there, through turn 10, but I've got the DRS open now. I've still got the Williams behind me, so thankfully he's not holding me up, not trying to overtake me or anything. Through the very high-speed turn 11, and then up the hill, left, then right, and then another right, and going down into 4th gear, missing the apex ever so slightly, but nice amount of traction coming out of the corner for the run down to the final corner. And once again up through the gears, reaching over 300 kilometers per hour, braking just after the 100-meter board down into 4th gear for the best traction towards the run, and you can see for the run to the line. But unfortunately, I even got wheel spin in 4th gear there. DRS is open, and that was an improvement of 1.8 seconds, which was enough for P3. So here we are back in the garage in qualifying 1. And you can see we are in third as it stands right now with a 35.7. We're just 5/10 off of Valtteri Bottas this time, and I do believe his time was set on the option tires. Currently ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, Jenson Button, Felipe Massa, Sebastian Vettel, and our teammate Kimi Räikkönen, which is what really matters here. Kimi, so far, only able to put in a 136.9, so not looking so great for him at the moment. But we are in a nice position currently, and I'm feeling pretty safe as far as continuing. So I am going to fast forward through the rest of the session and just kind of see where this 135.7 lands us. Remember, we only have to be in the top 16 drivers. Sorry, it's been a while since the 2014 season happened, so I forgot. But yeah, just the top 16 drivers. So I think we are very comfortably going to make it through into the next session with this 135.7, which isn't too bad. I'm pretty happy about that. I didn't nail my first lap like I did in Malaysia on the prime tire, but fortunately, things have gone pretty well, and it's looking pretty good as Hamilton puts in a 34.4. It's an incredibly fast lap, way faster than anything I think I've done so far this weekend. So it's looking pretty good, though, for at least us making it into Q3. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Disappointing for Jean-Eric Vergne, he's out in Q1. It looks like he really didn't judge those conditions out on track at all well today.
And once again, Jean-Eric Vergne getting knocked out in Q1. Last time it was because he was trying to do it on the prime tire. He just refused to put on the option tire. And as you can see, once again, he just decided to stick with the prime tire. He really did not want to put on the option tire in order to try and get into Q2, which is crazy because, well, I guess, you know, the option tire is pretty good in the race with these nighttime conditions, so he may have just been hoping to save as many. He might prefer the option tire as the race tire. Honestly, for me, I'm thinking this is probably going to be a two-stop race, option prime, and I'm sort of hoping that other people are going to be doing a three-stop race. And we can see no incidents as I've been checking to make sure to see if there have been any incidents at the end of these sessions. So here we are in Q2 at the end of our flying lap. And I've slowed down quite a bit because there are a couple of cars ahead of me, and I really just don't want them getting in the way. But I'm up into rich mix now, breaking down to fourth gear for the final corner to start our flying lap here in qualifying 2 on the option tires, the soft yellow marked tires. And we've got the DRS open, and we're starting our first lap. Heading down towards turn 1, nobody coming out of the pits, thank goodness. Braking just before the 100-meter board down into third gear, not second gear. I like third gear for this corner for getting on the track, getting on the gas or the throttle coming out of that first corner. It feels much better in third gear than it does in second gear. I'm not sure if it's faster, but it's certainly more consistent. Braking down to third gear just after the 100-meter board. Tire temperatures are good, says Jeff. So that is an encouraging sign as we're going through the twisty section in Sector 2 there, and then braking down into second gear this time. So like I said, not all the time do I use third gear at the hairpin on the option tires, but sometimes I do use third gear, sometimes I use second gear, excuse me. Down to third gear for turn 10. And lots of wheel spin, and that's definitely not the way you want to do that, but thankfully this is only Q2. I just need to be in the top 10 drivers to make it into the next round. Braking down to fourth gear for this corner and running out pretty wide, trying to get on the throttle. You do have to be pretty careful on the throttle coming out of there. Even in fourth gear, it is possible to get a little bit of wheel spin over here, overheat those rear tires, missing our apex for the penultimate corner there, so that's certainly not the fastest way around there as we're accelerating now down towards the final corner to finish the lap, braking just after the 100-meter board once again down into fourth gear, kissing the apex, going heavily over that inside curb actually, and then getting just a little bit of outside curb before hitting the DRS one more time, and it's a 135.202. Even with that mistake I made, I do believe that is the fastest lap that I've set so far. So I did a cool down lap after that. I did a lap on lean mix, and here I am at the end of that lap. I did not go back into the pits, so this is the same set of tires. It's the same set of the soft compound tires, and like I said, I just did a cool down lap in lean mix. And here I am in rich mix. This is my second flying lap here in Q2, and I'm looking to make an improvement. You can see I'm currently second fastest in the session, but I don't feel safe with that lap, obviously, with that huge mistake that I made coming out of turn 10. And you can see very difficult to get on the power there, even in third gear coming out of turn 1. And I was a little bit hesitant to go full throttle, breaking down once again into third gear for turn 4. The off-camber corner, I really don't like driving that corner. I think it's a great corner. I just don't like driving it. It's a very tricky corner. Down the hill now in 6th gear at the moment, breaking down into 3rd gear this time. So this time using 3rd for the better traction coming out of there, and I still get the wheel spin. Thankfully, it's not as bad as the wheel spin I got out of turn 10 on the last lap. And braking now, missing my apex at turn 10, but thankfully I carried a little bit more speed last time, and I was able to get on the throttle without too many issues. So it's looking like a better lap so far. Certainly not perfect though, as once again down into 4th gear, taking a little bit of the inside curb there, and even a little bit of the outside curb as well, and then up the hill, left then right, and then once again right again. And Jeff's telling me that the tires are overheating to go easy in the next few corners. Sorry, Jeff, I don't think I'll be going easy into any of the corners in a qualifying session. Thank you very much. And we're going to be braking for the final corner now. Just about missing that bollard, and then getting some wheel spin in 4th gear as we're trying to accelerate towards the start-finish line. And let's see, can I improve? Is it going to be any faster? No, it's 0.2 slower. So I've just got to hope that this is going to be fast enough. Here I am being wheeled back into the garage now after that second lap. Well, after another cool-down lap, of course. So I came back into the pits after that lap. So as you can see, I'm currently in 2nd position with that 135.2. My objective is 9th, which is currently occupied by Sebastian Vettel, who has a 136.6. So at the moment, things are looking pretty good, especially when you consider that neither of those laps that I put in was very good. There's definitely room for improvement there. And you can see we're actually over a 10th up on Nico Rosberg right now, and we're about 4/10ths up on our teammate Kimi Räikkönen as it stands. So things are looking pretty darn good. And it's a big gap actually down to Jenson Button, and then even bigger down to Perez, and then quite a few of them sort of in the mid 136s. Yeah, we are higher up the field than we expected to be, no doubt about it. So we are fast forwarding through the rest of this session, feeling pretty comfortable. Once again, just need to make it into the top 10, and you can see Kvyat down there with a 137.1. He is like 2 seconds slower than me, so things are looking pretty good. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable about fast forwarding through the rest of this session, and we do.
What a big disappointment for Daniel Ricciardo. The Australian was unable to get into Q3 today. I'd be expecting to see a lot of overtaking from him now in tomorrow's race.
So Daniel Ricciardo getting knocked out in 12th position. Kevin Magnussen as well getting knocked out. Both Force Indias advancing to Q3. But neither Magnussen or Ricciardo able to pull through to the next qualifying session. So they are going to get knocked out. And so we're going to be continuing on now to Q3. So it's already going better than Malaysia. No incidents in that session. And there it is, our 135.2. I was pretty happy with that once again, especially considering that neither of my laps was very good. So here we are in Q3. This is the meat and potatoes of the weekend so far. This is what matters most. This is what is going to decide my race start position. We're on the soft compound tires going through the final corner. This is a brand new set of option tires. Brand new set. I've only got 5 kilos of fuel on board with me. I'm going to do 1 lap, and then I'm going to come straight back in. I'm going to put on a brand new set of option tires, and I'm going to do a 2nd lap. So I've got 2 opportunities to put in the best possible lap that I can here. Nicely through turn 1, nicely on the throttle coming out of turn 1 as well. No wheel spin that time as we're accelerating now down towards turn 4, braking around the 100-meter board down into 3rd gear. I probably turned in a little too early there. I could have stayed wide and opened up that corner a little bit better. Up into 6th gear, braking down into 4th gear now for the right-hander, accelerating up to 5th and then 6th as we go through the left-hander, and then once again down into 2nd gear this time for the hairpin corner. A little bit of wheel spin, but I think that was quite nice. I think this is going to be our fastest lap of the weekend so far. That with 35.2 already my personal best as it stands so far, and just looking to improve on that as we've got the DRS open now on the back straight. This is feeling like a pretty darn good lap. just barely getting into 8th gear before braking just before the 50-meter board, down into 4th gear, just missing that inside curb, which is exactly what you want to do. Nicely accelerating up the hill, going off the circuit ever so slightly in order to open up that right-hander as much as possible. Once again, Jeff telling me that the tires are hot. I don't care, man. This is qualifying 3. This is what matters. This is what is going to determine our starting position for this race, where we need to get points. We absolutely need points. For Fernando Alonso to have yet to have scored so far after 2 races in 2014, that is totally unacceptable. DRS open as we cross the line, and it's a 134.5. That is 7/10 faster than my last lap. So, as I mentioned, I went back into the pits. This is another brand new set of the option tires. And we're going to see if we can improve on our already decent time. It's going to be very difficult to try and improve that time for me personally, because that was quite good. That was just about on the limit as far as I'm concerned. The hairpin turn 8. I had some wheel spin, and we've got some cars coming out of the pits, and we're going to break down just before the 100-meter board down into 3rd gear, and this Force India is just in the way. What are you doing, man? Do you not? Oh my God. With all the stuff that the AI that they programmed with the AI for F1 2015, you would think that, I mean, because the AI are so good, they're so much better than previous years, but for some reason they're still completely idiotic when it comes to blue flag stuff and when it comes to qualifying. Project Cars suffers from this issue as well. Just nobody seems capable or willing to program an artificial intelligence for racing games that it will actually let you through when you're on a hot lap in qualifying and they're on an out lap. There is no reason for that Force India to be getting in my way when he just came out of the pits like that. So you can see I've put it down into lean mix. I'm going to try and cool the engine through the final part of this lap, because I know this lap has already been thrown away. This lap has already been thrown away. These tires are already a little bit thrown away too, but I've got one last final opportunity. The session is ending in 1 minute, so I will be able to do one more lap as I cross the line. So I'm back up into Rich. Yeah, as Jeff tells me, there's a low chance of rain. Yeah, no kidding. It's Bahrain, man. It's never going to rain. You really don't need to update on me on the weather. So here we go. This is the final lap of qualifying 3. 5/10 down from pole, as Jeff is telling us. Braking for turn 1 just before the 100-meter board, down into 3rd gear. A little bit of a lockup. You could hear the tires squealing ever so slightly. Nicely through to turn 1 on the power. 5th gear, up through the gears, 6th gear, accelerating. Now we've got a nice gap in front of us, so it looks like we shouldn't be hindered by any cars. Once again into 3rd gear, getting a very nice tight line for that turn 4, using the exit curb to accelerate up through the gears once again. And very nicely through there. That wasn't bad at all. Once again, accelerating through the left-hander. You got to downshift a couple times for the right-hander, but then you're just accelerating through that left-hander. Again, accelerating up the hill into 6th gear before braking in a straight line as best you can, down into 3rd gear, missing my apex very, very slightly, half a foot, maybe just a few inches or so. DRS open, accelerating down the back straight now. Q3 is over. The session is over. So whatever this lap is, this is going to be our final lap for the qualifying session, and this is going to determine our starting position for this Bahrain Grand Prix. Again, running off the circuit to try and get as good a run through that right-hander as you can, up to the 7th gear, and then braking down to 4th gear. And then a little bit of a wheel spin on the back end there, stepping out ever so slightly with that oversteer. I don't think it was related to the dirty air, and I'm not sure if I'm getting a tow here, but I'm getting pretty close to the car in front of me. I believe that is the McLaren of Jenson Button. As we're accelerating now towards the start-finish line, is it going to be an improvement on our previous lap? DRS is open, and it is not. It is 3/10 slower compared to our previous, but is it going to be good enough? Let's see where we end up. Fernando seems pretty happy there. Is that Jeff? I don't even know who Jeff is. Is Jeff anywhere in here? Is Jeff even a person?
What a session it's been for Mercedes today. They've locked the front row of the grid for tomorrow's race.
Definitely a great result for the team, and if it all goes to plan tomorrow, we could be seeing a 1-2 finish. But there'll be plenty of other drivers on the grid who'll be hoping to put a stop to that.
And Fernando Alonso is one of those drivers. Look at that, just 0.2 of a second slower than Lewis Hamilton in the end. And again, that was with my first lap. I wasn't able to improve on the second lap, so I think I very likely could have been taking the front row position. I don't think I could have done a 133.998. But I do think I could have done a 34.3, so very possibly could have been on the front row of the grid. But we're starting from 3rd position. Our teammate Kimi Räikkönen way down in 7th position, 9/10 slower than us. So it is looking very good for this race. I'm feeling very confident, and I'm really looking forward to the race as well. Obviously, the start is going to be very difficult. I've been struggling with the start so far at both races in Australia and Malaysia, so I definitely need to work on my start, my launch procedure, and see if I can try and protect that 3rd place position. But I have a feeling those Williams drivers behind me in 4th and 5th are going to be swarming me into turn 1 on race day. It's going to be very challenging, but once again, I am really looking forward to it. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video, where we'll be taking part in the race for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.